Conversations powered by Just Talk and Lisa Listen. I am Jesse Farrell, and you are?
Lisa Bybee.
And what say you tonight?
I say that we welcome our listeners, our viewers, and I am VP of Sales and Marketing for the company, along with success coach and most recently podcaster.
I like it.
What about you?
Professional speaker, absolutely. Doing some success coaching myself as well. Author and podcaster. And Conversations really is that thing that we do at least once a week, if not more. But what we do is we create empowering conversations to help empower and inspire others to live their highest vision based on what we can help them with.
In a context of love and joy.
In a context of love and joy, absolutely. And how often are we seen here?
We are seen here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes. And today's topic is a really good one and timely, perfect.
Indeed it is. Well, let me tell you how that topic came about.
How did it?
I was reading Inc. magazine, and my buddy Jeff Haden wrote this 10 ways to stop feeling overworked and overwhelmed, and I added during the holidays, because holidays come upon us and we have so many obligations, be it with ourselves, our family, our jobs, and the holiday parties and the holiday shopping, and on and on and on. So I thought, what better time for this topic than
it is. It's a great time, and it's a great topic, and I love Inc. magazine as well. On top of that, yes. So let's just jump right into it. Before we do the answers, before we give them exactly the feel good part of it.
Well, they won't all come at once. They have to stay tuned the whole 30 minutes to get the juice.
But right. But the 10 ways to stop feeling overwhelmed and overworked, we're not going to give them that just yet. Let's give them some of the challenges that a lot of people face, because we had a bit of a conversation in the green room about this, and I wrote down a few notes myself. Check this out. What are the matters that typically cause overwork and overwhelm? Anyway, you started to mention a few, but what are some of those things, like holiday parties, family matters, work matters, pressures from feeling like you have to be engaged or be involved in situations that maybe you don't feel happy about, but everyone's doing it and you've been invited, you don't want to be left out, all that sort of stuff, right?
And if you are one of those people that have a hard time saying no and you say yes to everything,
yes,
which is another topic coming up on another show,
yes,
that creates a whole separate stress.
It is. It's a whole stress by itself. And another big one is unrealistic expectations and high demands from your time and your resources.
Mm-hmm.
So what I believe happens at this time of the year, from right about at the Thanksgiving period,
mm-hmm,
all the way through Christmas and the New Year, maybe going to just that very first week, people are dealing with a very heavy, dark cloud and a lot of sadness. It's supposed to be a happy time. In fact, don't we call it the blues, holiday blues?
Well, actually, there's another term which is called SADS.
Correct. SAD.
Which is?
And that actually, I looked that up. Give me a second. I'll tell you exactly what that is. That is what psychologists call seasonal affective disorder,
yes.
SAD.
And I actually had a doctor that diagnosed me with that when I was in corporate.
Right.
During this holiday time.
Yes.
And I'm really wondering if it was that or if it was just the pressure of it all.
I believe it's probably more the pressure of it. It just came at that timing. And so, I don't know. I'm not going to say, in fact, he was a good doctor, so I'm not going to say he's right or wrong, and I'm certainly not a doctor. But I wonder if it really was something other than sad. But the other thing that causes sad is what I've read about is fewer daylight hours, so we don't get that whole push from the sun.
Well, it gets dark literally if you live in Summerlin at 4 o'clock because the sun goes over the mountain. If you live in Henderson, it stays lighter a little later, but nonetheless, we're still having less daylight hours.
Yeah, and there's something. So the diagnosis of SAD, that seasonal affective disorder, is different from the holiday blues. Those are not the same, but they could certainly feel the same if people don't know any better, right?
Yes.
So let's get into a few more of the things. So another thing I thought would be, how do we handle those unrealistic expectations and the demand? I mean, you're getting at the end of the year, so a lot of people are closing out the books. There are tax consequences that they're concerned about that they have to pay the front part of the next year. Other people cutting back on and dropping out on their commitments of not doing what they say they're going to do, disappointment.
Because let's face it, you have the best of intention on doing something. It's on your calendar. It's been on your calendar, but a holiday party comes up and it's a company or it's a client and it's a commitment and you can't not go. So that's another thing that you didn't even know was going to happen. What about the unknowns that that are not even on the calendar that pop up that something may be there, and you just have to drop it off.
What about the unknown of telling yourself you're going to be on this great program, you're going to get down to this great size and this great weight and get back into your girlish figure and all that kind of stuff, and you find yourself eating a whole lot more.
Are you talking about me?
No.
Well, you just said... Wait a minute. You just said...
I'm talking about...
You just said... Whoa.
We are talking about you as and you people out there listening.
No.
That's what we're doing.
Because I'm going to tell you, I've been in the gym for the last 5 months, 5 days a week on CrossFit.
I'm
and
just
most
saying.
recently
Absolutely. So now you, with all that being said, with that evidence, we're talking about other people.
Okay, but it sounded like you, so I had to call you on that for a minute.
Well, let me say me. How about me? So we've got a little face control going on right now, but now it's the end of the year, and where am I with my goals on that whole staying in the right clothes and the right shape for myself?
Right.
Not by anybody else's standards. But the whole point of it is all now coming to that close point, and if you're not careful, you can fall into a level of depression.
Or just complete overwhelmed.
Correct.
You're completely overworked and overwhelmed.
Yes. So how do people cope with it? How do they manage it? What are your thoughts? How do people manage overwhelming before you get to the 10?
I know that sometimes people just shut down and don't deal with it at all. They go to sleep.
Avoidance or denial.
Or maybe they were supposed to go to parties and then they end up just going home and not doing anything at all.
That's true.
Because you're just completely shut down and overwhelmed.
And many people also look for other soothers or pacifiers. They look for things like
whatever their
drugs
addiction,
or alcohol or whatever
shopaholic.
they'd be prone to in terms of addictive behavior to mask this whole thing that's happening, right?
Or the holidays bring it out even further, because if you're a shopaholic, you're going to go shop even further.
Which leads to overconsumption, right?
Or food may comfort you, so you go turn to food, and God knows there's plenty around because everyone's bringing it to you and cooking and doing this and that, and all the parties you're invited to. It's called control.
It is, and a lot of times we get fooled into believing that the new year is going to wipe it all away.
Because that's kind of the hype, the media. If you watch TV, that's what it does. That's what people say. People want to start the new year and write all these goals. But really, you write all these goals, and 3 weeks, 4 weeks into the year, you need to do things that are realistic.
3 or 4 weeks into the year, you forgot where you put the paper. You don't even know where the goals are, let alone that you're following them.
Unless
right?
it's Jesse Farrell, he's got his in his computer, and he knows how to get to him within
that's only because
a nanosecond.
That's only because I use Spotlight search on Apple, and I just put in the keyword, and boom, there it comes back up as a reminder.
All right.
But not everyone's doing that. So let's talk about let's share a very compelling story. Do you have a compelling story about this whole challenge of this time of the year when so much is coming down on so many people, so much expectation, and anything that has happened either to you or someone that you've known in the past as a representation of exactly what we're talking about?
I can actually speak from the heart, from when I was in corporate, because fourth quarter for me always was more pressure, because you have to finish out the new year strong. You have to plan for the following year. You have to do and redo the reports. You have to have the one-on-one meetings once a week on top of all your client meetings, and you have to book those meetings and keep those meetings up, plus raise kids and keep up with your kids, and do the Christmas shopping for the clients and deliver. Demand. You got your personal Christmas cards, you got your client Christmas cards, you got the gift delivery from work. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And typically every year for the last 10 years before I retired from broadcasting, I was sick for at least 2 weeks.
About the same time of year? With
either bronchitis, which turned into pneumonia.
Wow.
Because I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. Nobody else was going to do it for me.
And I believe a lot of people out there, the viewers especially watching or listening to this, they either have had this happen to them in a cyclical sort of fashion, or they know people that this has happened. And a lot of times we never put it together, which is why when you discovered this article, we thought it'd be a great article for us to have a great topic on to help people this holiday season right now.
Well, not only that, but I didn't know how to say no. And I also had the disease to please. So I continued to do and do and do and do and do until I just dropped. Until my body said, you know what, we're going to make you
It never
lay down.
occurred to you year after year after year that this was the same thing that was happening, did it?
Not at all.
No, you just dealt with it because you're sick and now you...
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
Let's
fair
face
enough.
it.
Fair enough.
Right?
That's huge. So now I think we ought to start talking about the 10 ways to stop feeling overworked and overwhelmed. I mean, that's a great time, don't you?
Let's do it.
So let's do it. Well, I read the first one, you read the second, we'll go from there. In this piece from Inc. magazine that you discovered, it says number one.
From Jeff Haden.
Jeff Haden, we'll definitely give him authorship there because this is his stuff that we're sharing. It says, number 1, recognize and overcome the tyranny of the present. Now, let's break that down a little bit per his words. People who are always in the moment don't look ahead and make plans to pursue their goals and dreams. Though there are certainly things you need to do every day, much of what you think you need to do isn't particularly important, especially where your long-term goals are concerned. That's why we should, and then he goes on and on. So, do you agree with that?
I do.
So recognize what really needs to be done on a sense of urgency and use a shifting priority scale.
Absolutely.
You always be able to shift on the fly when you realize that these are things that you don't even need to be burdened with at the moment.
Right.
So that's number 1, is to recognize and overcome. So when he says recognize, I actually apply awareness to that, which is very much the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you read number 2. Tell us.
Well, number 2 is ask. And that's another thing. How many of us really ask for the help that we need? Is it really necessary? Ask, is this really necessary? Challenge your basic assumptions about your regular habits. Do you need to have that meeting? Do you need to create that report, as I was just saying, ironically? Do you need to respond to that email? In many cases, you don't, but you do anyway, simply because that's what you've always done.
Habit, out of habit, out of habit.
Eliminate as many nice-to-do tasks as possible. Not only will you have more time, but you'll also have more time to be effective where it really matters. And people, you said it best, they do the easy things first. They leave the hard things for last, and then those things start just building and building and building. Do the toughest thing first thing in the morning or whatever your sweet spot is in the day. If it's at nighttime, do the toughest thing first.
I agree, because once you do that tough thing first, or those tough things first, the rest of the items you may have on the list are a joke compared to the heavy things, and they're likely more important for that matter as well. So I like that. That's a good number 2.
But not only that, what about the unexpected things that come up during the day?
Constantly.
With the list that you already have.
Constantly.
So start with the toughest first.
Absolutely. And the third one is push reset on your calendar. And what he says here is sometimes the answer is, this really necessary? Ask yourself, is it really necessary? Is yes, but not right now. So in other words, it doesn't have to be done right now. That again goes back to my mind to shifting priorities.
Right.
To understand what matters most. I actually like to work off of a list. Who wouldn't know that? And I like to prioritize that list with the level 1s being the highest level priorities. Level 2s, if I don't get a level 1 done, I'm going to know, and other people are going to know, and someone's going to be hurt by it.
But until you taught me that system, everything to me was a level 1.
Everything was a level 1.
You need to know what that means,
But let's speak to that for a second before you go there, Lisa. Let me first explain the system so our viewers and listeners know what we're talking about. 1 to 5. Level 1s are items that need to be done of high level of importance, and they're typically date specific and people specific. If people are going to get hurt by you not completing that, you need to get on it.
Right.
2s are almost as important, but not quite with the level of sensitivity. If you drop down to a level 5, you're likely the only one to realize if this level 5 activity or task does not get done. Most people will never know. You'll know, or maybe you won't. So, and then everything in the middle is the grayscale between that. So with you, when you first learned the system, you made everything a level 1.
Because everything was important to me.
No, because you made everything a high sense of urgency.
Because I didn't want to let anyone down, because I wanted to please everybody, and I didn't want to say no.
You had a hard time saying no. So in your mind, it was level 1.
Right.
You had to learn, wait a minute. I don't have to say yes to everything and everyone.
It takes a while to sort that out.
And so there are viewers and people listening right now that are still trying to figure it out and sort it out.
Right.
So I agree
it's not easy.
No,
it takes time, but it can be done.
You say that. It's simple, not easy.
Right.
Simple concept, not easy to do. Very good. So now we're on number 3. Push reset on your calendar. Oh, I already said that one.
Yes,
so we're on number 4.
Correct.
Did I go to school? Did I graduate?
Well, someone told me you were a professor at UNLV, so you went beyond school.
Who said that?
You told me that. Were you?
I made it up.
Okay. Understand and set your operating rhythm. We all work differently. Some of us hit the ground running. Others start the day by reflecting, meditating, and thinking. Some like to work into the night. You know what? I just said that. Sorry, I don't mean to be redundant here, but the key is to understand not how much you like to work, but also how much you work best. You might like to work late at night, But if you're tired or frazzled by a long day, you'll never perform at your best.
No, and you want to perform at your best. And these 10 ways to stop feeling overworked and overwhelmed are actually wonderfully well laid out. And to be at your best is to discover your best rhythm. What is your best rhythm? Some people don't like it in the morning, so they have a hard time getting up. Some people don't want to go to bed at night. They like the nighttime. So whatever it is your rhythm is, find a job or create an occupation that allows you to live in your best rhythm of life. That's huge.
Yeah.
I like it.
I know mine's morning.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, get up and get it done.
Yeah.
Number 5, schedule the most important tasks first. Well, we talked about that one.
Yeah.
We talked about that really as a matter of priority. So let's skip to number 6 and keep it rolling.
Give yourself time for unconscious thought.
Okay.
Giving yourself time for unconscious thought is the key to making smart decisions when you face complex problems. Research shows people tend to make their best decisions when they have an opportunity to review the data and facts and then focus their thought on something else for a while. How? Take a walk. Do a mindless chore. Exercise. Do something where your body goes on autopilot and your mind does too. You'll be surprised by the solutions you can dream up when you aren't purposely trying to be creative. Or just lay down and put it all down.
I like it.
That's what I say.
You know what's huge about that is that gives your brain a full rest. In my mind, what it gives you and gains for you is decompression time. It gives you a chance to step away from the issue, step away from the problem, and let your mind have some relief so that when you come back to the problem, you're fresh.
Not only that, but when you lay down and put it down, some thought, because you gave your brain a break, may pop into your mind because you gave yourself time and space for something to come in.
Yes.
If you just keep going, you're not even going to allow that jewel and that nugget that may solve a critical problem for you.
It's true, and it gives you a chance to get a moment-to-moment break from that kind of stuff. So that's huge. That's a good one. Number 7 is set boundaries. No one can or should be on 24/7. Yeah.
This is a 24/7 town.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean you have to be up 24/7 doing. This sometimes you have to take a break. Sometimes you have to change up the game, change up the landscape. It says, yet you probably feel you are because you allow yourself to be in that 24/7 mode. Set some boundaries.
And consequences. I'm adding consequences because they go hand in hand.
I agree that they do, because if you don't set boundaries, the consequences are untold what's going to happen to your life, and it won't be pretty.
And if you don't set them, they'll just happen to you.
I like it.
Right?
Well said. Move us to the next point.
Be strategic with yes and no. You can't say yes to everything. Well, you can, but you won't get everything you say yes to done. So in effect, you're still saying no. So really, it's better to say no than yes, because you're going to end up looking worse or letting people down if you just would have said no in the first place.
Well, especially if you know you don't have the bandwidth for it, if you know that you don't have the resources for it, if you know that it's not what you truly want to do. And oftentimes, this is actually a good one. A lot of people have a hard time saying no because they don't want what? Rejection.
To let
people down.
No.
But there's a way that you can
And they want to be liked.
They want to be liked. There's a way that you can say no by saying yes.
Let me take a look at that and get back to you.
Well, that's a stand down, a little decompression. That's a start of it. I think the second way is instead of saying yes to what they want that is not what you want, and instead of actually saying no, I don't want to do that, you can say, you know what? Let me share with you what I can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can share with them what you're willing to do, which is to say, no, I'm not doing that. So you can share what you're willing to do, even if it's not what they ask you to do.
Or, I'm not available to do it now. I can do it for you next week.
Right.
Options.
I agree. I like that. Options. And number 9, tame your distractions. Most people are distracted over 30 times in an hour. Phone calls, emails, texts, office drop-ins. The list is endless.
I would venture to say it's more than that. That's a lot.
I agree with you. I think it is more than that. And I think what happens is we're so inundated with demand, with stimulation of the cell phone, the text thing coming in, the
email,
alerts, the alerts,
Facebook, social media.
Yes. In fact, speaking of social media, I think this is for the people that have a hard time or get the holiday blues. This might be a good time for them to put down social media. They may take a 30-day sabbatical. Or a 60-day, November, December. Well, we're done with November, so
if they
December.
can, I think it's another addiction. I think it's easier said than done.
Likely, but if they hear this, they may consider it. So I'm thinking if people are willing to put down social media, if they're having challenges, they tend to get overburdened or overwhelmed when they look at other people and they look at their Facebooks and they're meeting with groups or families and there's 12 and 15 and 10 and 8 and 5 or whatever, and the pictures show that they're having a great old time. It doesn't show the 3 fights they had in the bathroom. They don't take pictures of now they do take pictures of the fights and put them on social media. But
yeah, I unfriend those people.
Yeah,
I keep the positive stuff on my Facebook.
But the point is, most people that look at that are in a darker place are thinking other people's lives are what?
Better than theirs.
Better than theirs. And does that leave you feeling up or down?
Depends on the mindset that you're in.
I don't know a person.
If I look at it, I just keep going.
No, but if you're in a down spirit, if you're not feeling good because of the holiday blues, if you've got the drabs,
then you think their life is so much better than yours.
You can see it in pictures.
Everyone compares all the time.
Exactly. I say put that Facebook down for 30 days if this is your situation.
Well, then you've got Instagram, and then you've got all the other stuff.
Put the social media down.
Yeah.
Pick up a book. Go see a movie, an uplifting movie. Go see a comedy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Get around people that leave you feeling better.
Or journal what you're feeling.
Absolutely, journal what you're feeling.
And be one with your feelings and really feel it and be with it to overcome it.
Find a friend. Find someone that you love and they love you. Find someone that you like and they like you.
Well,
put the social media down. If it's bringing you down, put it down. When in doubt, leave it out.
Okay.
I like it.
All right.
What's the next one?
And number 10. Are you sure we want to go on to number 10 right now?
Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
All right. Here we go. Remember your impact on other people. If you're a leader, and since you run a business, you definitely are. You naturally impact other people. You set a direction. You set a standard. Be a great role model. A person who gets important tasks done, who stays on point, who focuses on achieving goals and dreams, and who helps other people achieve their goals and dreams. That's reason enough to manage time so you're consistently at your best.
I like it. Managing time. He talks about managing time so you're consistently at your best. Yeah. I love the 10 pieces that he's offered for us. I really do. I think it's a great piece. I will say that I have a bit of a challenge when it comes to managing time because my philosophy is this. If I ask you to do something today at 6 p.m. and say it's absolutely due at 6 p.m. tomorrow, how much time is that?
24 hours.
24 hours. If I ask our director, Scott, to do something at 5 p.m. and it's due 5 p.m. the next day, how many hours is that? 24. So what are we actually managing?
Self.
Exactly. I don't believe that time management is something. We don't manage time.
Right.
I think I believe what this author intended is personal management.
Mm-hmm.
We manage ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I believe if you manage yourself, that's what gets better. And you can gain more time back by managing how you show up.
Absolutely.
Do you agree with that too?
I do. One quick announcement I wanted to make as well is that we do have a private conversation being held this Sunday.
Okay.
And we do have 2 openings left. And if you're interested, you email us at feelings@justtalk.com and we will get you the time and location to show up. And speaking of conversations, we had a live event scheduled next Wednesday, December 9th, with Will Edwards at the Crepe. This one we have postponed due to the holidays, due to too much.
Due to what's happening to people that we're talking about right here.
The overwhelm and overwork.
Exactly.
So we want to add that to our calendar when people can really appreciate it. So that one is postponed until February, and stay tuned for the date.
Yeah, they can get they'll get fresh value from that.
Absolutely.
I like that. So while we're giving announcements, I'd like to announce where people can find us, this wonderful podcast that we're doing.
Do it.
They can do that at iTunes, Apple TV, Roku TV, Stitcher, Google TV, YouTube, RSS feed, Facebook, even though we said to put it down. We said we meant
just not the show.
No. We meant to put it down as everything except conversation.
Right.
Then pick it back up for
that. Yes.
And Twitter, and of course, the very last, and certainly not the very least at all. In fact, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be here. The Vegas Video Network.
Woo. Hallelujah.
So that's where everyone can find us for sure. So with that being said, let's pop back into a little flop back here.
The biggest takeaway. I want to know what your biggest takeaway from the show today was.
Well, can I give you that now, or can I ask one more thing before I give you that?
Okay, your choice.
Because it may have a dividend payoff into the takeaway.
Do it, Jess.
How about this? The one thing that I wrote down that we didn't discuss is fairy tale expectations during the holiday period.
Holidays?
During the holiday.
Holiday.
If Will Edwards was here, he would be laughing about my accent, but that was just a slip. That wasn't my accent.
Kick over the baby carriage.
Yeah, he would kick over me. Exactly what he would kick over. So no, during the holiday period, don't you believe that people get these fairy tale expectations, or do you believe that?
Some do, yeah.
I think a lot of people find themselves, following the status quo, following the crew at chow time, doing what everyone else does. It's the holiday, so I have to meet
Go
all
along,
these.
get along to fit in.
I have to fit in. I have to meet all these demands. I'm not in a happy place, but I have to pretend like I'm happy. And it's almost a Norman Rockwell type of thing that they want to live into, but that's really a painting.
Right.
Now, some people do have those lives.
Traditionalists.
Well, there's some people that do have a Norman Rockwell type of life. But it's certainly, I don't believe that is the absolute
Looks like it
majority.
on the outside, not the inside.
Well, you never know.
Right.
We don't always know. But I just think having a fairy tale expectation of the holidays can put a real damper on making the best of what you do have.
I think it's there's an expectation. So once you have that expectation, typically you're going to be let down with that thought.
I believe you're right. And I believe that the false expectations appearing real, the whole fear thing.
Right.
I think people oftentimes will bring it on themselves because they're anticipating the thing that they know they're never going to reach and never gain, but they're playing it all out like they have it, and they don't.
Right.
And I think wearing that social mask and that whole challenge of it all and adding the fairy tale aspect to it just puts more demand on a life that's not real.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
I agree.
So takeaways. I'd say my best takeaway from today's program is being able to, if we only enlighten one person out there,
with one nugget.
With one nugget
of
one of
anything.
the insights or one of the skirmishes or one of the circumstances or the story that you shared, if only one person is ignited by that and changed the holiday for them, then we've done our job. We are carried out that purpose. I believe that people want to roll with, if it is to be, it's up to me.
And if anyone has any questions and would like further deep diving on
Where
anything
can they
we've
find
said
us?
today, please email us at feelings@justtalk.com
Yes.
or give us a call at 702-541-6992.
That's very good. I like that. But now we have time. We have 1 minute left in the program. So what's your biggest takeaway?
Oh, my biggest takeaway is, take heed of one of these 10 steps that is going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that stands out for me, because it was my biggest issue and got me into a lot of trouble, is don't say yes when you want to say no.
Right.
Please, please, please. When you learn that one simple thing and say no instead of yes, your life will change for the better. Drastically.
I totally agree. Your life and the people's lives that you touch around you.
And yes, let's not forget about our special guest next week.
Oh, and that special guest, who is that? Oh, that is going to be, I know that off the top of my head. That's Kelly Marcello.
And we're going to be talking about...
becoming a difference maker.
There you go.
And she is a difference maker. Kelly Marcello is the principal of Word of Life Christian Academy. And this lady...
She's so much more than that, though.
She's a powerhouse. She's a
You're
powerhouse.
going to fall in love with her immediately.
The camera's going to fall in love with her.
Everything.
The audience is going to fall.
Everything.
Scott Whitney's going to fall in love with her. He's going to try to get her on another program.
Yeah.
He's going, she's so good. She needs to have her own show. She's too big for you guys.
That's right.
That's what he's going to say.
Right.
And he's probably right about that, too.
So
in fact, I know he is.
There's a cliffhanger for you, Mr. Scott Whitney,
It
producer.
is. That's a teaser for Scott. Scott, go when Kelly comes in. Go get her, Scott.
So at the end of the day,
all of this and this programming and this particular subject that you picked up and all of the podcasts that we do is expressed to help people. And at the end of the day, it's all about how you leave them feeling.